If there are markets to be moved, we will be doing all the moving. Live look outside of our Camden, New Jersey studios. We'll bring you inside to Studio S. My name is Dan Koob. Welcome to Market Movers on a Friday, of course. If it's 4 o'clock, that means it is time to move some of those markets. Let's dive into the order book and let you know what we have in store for you today. The World Series has upset me so much that I devoted the first part of the show to it because I am on fire about the disgusting display of fandom in Philadelphia last night. But we are super excited to have Katie Welge here with us from Pine Sports. We're going to be talking about a huge college football weekend, and I love this because we have not had an opportunity, Katie, as we welcome you in, to talk about college football nearly enough, but we're super happy that you're here with us. You're a Dodgers fan. So this is a loaded question. We have a Dodgers fan and a Phillies fan talking about the Houston Astros being 1 game away from winning a World Series. I hate it. I can't imagine you feel much better either.
I couldn't be happier to be here, first off. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me. And second, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just painful to see them out on top as they always somehow do. And given the events of recent years, it's really hard for me to just see beyond it. And last night's game was equally as frustrating, as I'm sure you were being there and just hearing a little bit about what was going on in the stadium. I can't imagine how you're feeling right now.
Katie, section 207, usually a great section. We had people trying to get Instagram pictures off multiple rounds. Didn't like the first round of photos, had to do it again. It's like, hey, sit down. The count's 2-2 with 2 outs. There's men on base. We have a baseball game to pay attention to. Lovely gentleman in front of me was live streaming the Eagles game on his iPad, not watching the baseball game that he presumably paid hundreds of dollars to go to. Just disappointing effort on all fronts. And now it's a 3-2 Astros lead. Phillies now have to go on the road in Game 6. So we'll pull up the pricing for Game 6 that you'll be able to find on Sport Trade. That game tomorrow, Saturday at 8:03. The market makers apparently seem to think this one is over. The Astros trading at 57.5 to beat the Phillies straight up on the money line. Phillies at $43 with a tired Zach Wheeler going to the bump. 1.5 has been the run line for a majority of the series. And even though it seems like the market makers are saying, hey, we believe the Astros are going to bring this one home, the pricing would indicate that maybe they're seeing a little bit of a closer game than maybe you or I. The Phillies trading at $63, meaning a 63% chance to cover the run line of 1.5. The Astros at just 38. The run line, 6.5, is dicey, and I'm going to tell you, Katie, I am avoiding it like the plague. But $54 to the over, $47 to the under 6.5 there. And of course, anytime we have an update in the markets and a game played, we like to update you on that. But let me ask you, just your thoughts on Game 6 in general.
I mean, to be honest with you, I keep really rooting for Noah Syndergaard, and I know Justin Verlander. Everybody's kind of riding him hard too, and everything like that. I just want the Phillies to get this done.
You don't have
I
to
didn't get to
placate
watch
me.
any of it last night, watching because I was watching the other team. I was watching the Eagles, which had a great game. I can't believe they're 8-0. It's pretty cool to watch them, but yeah, I'll definitely be tuning into the next game here and hoping for a nice turnaround for the Phillies.
So we'll pull up, hopefully, let's see if we can get this to activate here. Pull up for you now. There we go. The MVP odds and the MVP markets on Sport Trade. Jeremy Pena, after a big game last night, hit a home run, had also an RBI single, accounting for 2 of the 3 runs for the Astros, now trading at 41.5 to an MVP. Unbelievable rookie season for him. Framber Valdez will get the start in Game 6. He dominated the Phillies in Game 2. He's at $10.50. A lot of Astros. Alex Bregman, $9.50 before Bryce Harper checks in at 8. He was at 24.5 going into last night. So if you had bought Bryce Harper at 24.5 to win MVP going into last night, he gets on base a ton, 2 walks. He has an RBI double as well. But because the Phillies lose, if you had invested at 24.5, you're now down at 8. So that's a tough one. Kyle Schwarber at 7.5. Kyle Tucker at 8.5. Christian Javier, who will get a start, presumably in Game 7, if there is a Game 7, at $7. Real quickly, before we move on to college football, Katie, because I am sick and tired of reliving last night, we want to remind you that we give away $100 on the program every single Friday. All you have to do to win $100 in your Sport Trade account, follow us on Twitter at Sport Trade App and quote tweet the Market Mover Show. That can be a live show, that can be a previous show, doesn't matter to me, and hashtag it with Trade Up New Jersey. Okay, we've got Katie here from Pine Sports today, one of our favorite partners that we bring in every Friday, because this is such an awesome college football weekend. We've got 1 versus 2. We've got Bama versus LSU. We've got a wild game in the ACC, a conference that has not been very noteworthy this year, Katie, but NC State and Wake Forest hopefully going to be a real barn burner. But we'll start with the game of the weekend, and that is Tennessee at Georgia. Is this, in your opinion, the best game we're going to see this year?
1000%. It
Okay.
is not just the game of the weekend, it is the game of this season. I mean, who could have thought that Tennessee was going to be number one? I mean, what Josh Heupel has done with that organization and just turning things around with his staff and the players has been incredible. I mean, they have the top offense right now in the country and possibly the fastest as well. They have Hendon Hooker as their quarterback, who is the Heisman leader as well. This game I cannot be more excited for. But Georgia does have home field advantage here.
Mhm.
And they also had a really great early win this season against Oregon. Let's not forget. I know some people are kind of ragging on their schedule and some of their wins, but I mean, I'm not counting out Georgia. They are still number two on the defense for within the whole entire SEC and the rest of college football as well. So I know they are going to be without star linebacker Nolan Smith as well, which couldn't have come at a worse time, but they are still great without him. They still have Marvin Jones Jr. taking his place. And I don't think that they are going to slow down in that department, but they are definitely going to have to up the offense that they can, doing whatever they can against Tennessee because they are against that incredible offense.
So we're taking a look at the market on Sport Trade. We're going with the college football playoff rankings. So 1 Tennessee against 3 Georgia. Even though Tennessee, the top ranked team in the nation, Hendon Hooker has, as you mentioned, Katie, been awesome. 21 touchdowns this year, just 1 interception. That's it. Josh Heupel's leading an offense, averaging about 50 points per game. But the sentiment seems to be on the side of the dogs. 75% of the market right now for Georgia. Now, if you have paid attention at all towards betting markets this weekend, one of the biggest liabilities for most everyone this weekend is if Tennessee's able to pull this off. But at an 8.5-point spread, Georgia trading at 51.5, Tennessee at 49.5. The over 65, 55 to the over, $46 per contract to the under. As I mentioned, public sentiment all over the Vols. We've mentioned that their offense is great. You mentioned that Georgia's schedule has been the subject, Katie, of some snickering. But the fact remains, their only game against a ranked team this year was that opener against Oregon. They looked fantastic, but they have had some pretty close calls against lesser SEC opponents. Do you think that's playing into public sentiment and the fact that Tennessee's just been so fun?
I do a little bit, but and a lot of people are so surprised by this spread, this 8-point spread. I am not. I mean, granted, yes, they are the national title defenders, and yes, that was last year, but like, I'm surprised that people are so surprised by this. Yes, Tennessee is
A double
probably winning
surprise.
one to win. What's that?
It's a double surprise. Surprised by the
Yeah,
surprise. Yeah.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yes, Tennessee is probably the more fun team to watch here, and it has been a blast seeing them just absolutely dominate. But I'm with the public here. I'm going with Georgia easily.
So
Taking.
So the public is with Tennessee. They're hoping Tennessee actually pulls it out. So sort of lay the roadmap out for us if you could. What leads to a Tennessee upset in your mind?
I think what leads to a Tennessee upset is really amping up on offense for Georgia. I haven't seen them really shine so much in that department. I think that also is to why there is some criticism with their playing this year and the schedule. I think if they can really dominate in that area and start kind of ramping things up and not just on defense, I think that's how they'll be able to keep up with Tennessee.
Okay, Vols, not that trends matter when it comes to trading, but the Vols have lost 13 straight games against the AP #1 team. Tennessee is #1 in the college football playoff ranking. Georgia #1 in the AP. LSU, Alabama, another game where the favorite goes on the road, as we'll see. Alabama ranked 6th, LSU ranked 10th. Alabama at 83.5 against the Tigers in Baton Rouge. I'm not sure how much value there is in laying that. But Bama just 3-point road loss away to Tennessee from being undefeated again. I think some people are a little weary of this Tigers team. Last week, they kind of put it to Ole Miss, but I think a lot of people think Ole Miss's season is a mirage at 8-1. And I think that's kind of where we're seeing this lack of trust in LSU. Bama has not lost in Baton Rouge since 2010. That to me is insane. How do you size this one up, Katie?
Yeah, and I also heard that LSU has only 8 victories at home versus Alabama, which isn't also great. Bama does have that one loss heading into Death Valley. They really don't have any room for error here. They need to win to make the SEC championship game or any chance of college football playoffs this year. Bama does. So you know, I love how Bryce Young has spread the ball to all of his receivers. 5 receivers catching over 20 passes this year. It's just pretty cool. I think the key for Bama is their defense is just to keep Jaden Daniels at bay. He's been on fire lately, averaging 292 yards total offense per game, and also leads the team in rushing, which is pretty awesome as well. I like Alabama controlling this game, which Jameer Gibbs, who's also capable of being a receiver to cause problems to LSU's defense here. So this will be interesting, but I do think that people were so quick to fade Alabama after that loss to Tennessee, but I don't think their days are numbered by any means here, especially for this weekend against LSU.
If Bama memory serves, they came out of that loss and won 30-6 at home against Mississippi State. Not a bad squad, right? So a decent bounce back performance. But Bama's another one that's kind of been cutting it close. I mean, they barely beat Texas A&M 24-20, a team a lot of people were much higher on earlier in the season. A 1-point win at Texas, never an easy place to play. So I'm not surprised that people are sort of leaning on the fact that Nick Saban is Nick Saban against LSU. Clemson and Notre Dame. This is one where maybe a little closer. Notre Dame had a tough start to the season. Clemson trading at just $63 to win. A 4.5-point spread. The over 47.5, and just looking at the pricing, a 60% chance for that to go under. So sentiment not very strong. This is going to be a high-scoring game for either team. It is sort of the return to the scene of the breakout for Clemson's quarterback, DJ Ugalele. Correct me because I'm wrong. He threw for 439 yards and 2 scores 2 years ago in relief of an injured Trevor Lawrence. But this Notre Dame offense, not particularly explosive. Drew Pine has really struggled the last several weeks. If memory serves, he's thrown for less than 50% of his passes the last 3 games, 9 of 19 last week against Syracuse. And Notre Dame kind of forced to force feed the ground game, but Clemson is one of the best defensive fronts in the country, just 87 yards allowed on the ground every Saturday. So given that, Katie, do you think this is just sort of a Clemson romp, or is Notre Dame going to make a game out of this?
So this is a must-win game if Notre Dame wants to improve their bowl eligibility chances here. But given everything that you just mentioned as well, and aside from 2 horrible losses against Marshall and Stanford, Notre Dame hasn't played bad football either. But with Clemson coming to South Bend, I think it's going to be really tough. But I also don't feel like it's going to be necessarily an easy victory for Clemson, even though I don't have doubts that they will take the win here. Tiger side, Will Shipley has been their saving grace, and DJ Uiagalelei has much improved, but still shows he can be shaky. And we saw, with Syracuse game, Dabo is not afraid to put him out and put Cade Klubnik in, which
Right.
is also reassuring. That was huge, especially in that game. And, and also DJ was fully behind it. He tweeted after the game and he was just like, basically, I would have done the same thing. So they always seem to pull it out too. I think they're coming off of a bye, Clemson, so they have some of their key players on defense rested and ready to be healthy for this game.
Our final one, Katie, is one that I actually can't wait to trade. I'm really excited to trade this game, and that's Wake and NC State, because these two offenses, well, more accurately, Wake Forest can actually put the ball up with anybody and score at any moment, and NC State to a lesser extent. I just want to read to you the total numbers of every Wake Forest game this year. The over is 54.5 at even money at $50 per contract, so it couldn't be more even. Here are the totals this year: 54, 70, 73, 96, 52, 55, 58, and last week was 69. Now, NC State's defense, Katie, much better than any other defenses that Wake has seen, maybe with the exception of Clemson. But the Clemson game was the one that had a total of 96. So I'm not convinced that this defense is going to be able to slow them down. Wake's defense, not good. So if NC State is able to score some points, that's going to put even more pressure on Wake to really air this thing out. I think this is the we don't like to hand out locks on the show. We're not slinging picks on this program, but I think this is my lock of the week. I love this trade. It's at even money. I think this is absolutely going to go over.
I do like your analysis. I don't totally disagree. You know, Wake Forest was number 10 last week and they were upset by Louisville.
Yeah.
Offense turned the ball over 8 times. Matchup comes down to Wake Forest's offense here versus NC State's defense. Wake Forest's offense averages 38 points per game. Sam Hartford, their quarterback, has 22 touchdown passes this year. I think that this is actually going to be an exciting game. I think it might be one of the most underrated games for this weekend. Obviously, we have bigger ones kind of in the forefront, but I definitely think this is going to be a great game to watch, and people aren't going to want to miss this one either.
So based on those prices, is there anything, I'll put them back up for you. Is there any in particular that you find more attractive than others?
I do really like the money line for Wake Forest.
Okay.
I would take that. I personally would take that. That's kind of where I was leaning to begin with. And I'm liking the price here, what I'm seeing, 63.5.
Okay. All right. Katie's in for 63.5. So there you go. An analysis of 4 of the biggest college football games of the weekend, including maybe the biggest: Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, NC State, and Wake Forest. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. We're very happy that you were here. Before we go, though, it is Friday, so we have to give away our $100. We have notified the staff here that we are ready to pick our winner. This week's winner of $100 in the Market Movers Weekly Sweepstakes is our guy, Moneyline Marv. So mazel tov to Marv. Stay tuned and check out your DMs, because you're going to be contacted by our folks for $100 to be placed in your Sport Trade account. Katie, again, thank you so much from Pine Sports. We love having you guys drop by every single Friday. That'll do it for another week of Market Movers. We appreciate you guys checking us out, and we'll be back right here on Monday at 4 o'clock like we are every week. Have a great weekend.